Whatculture.
Right, okay, now this list might annoy some of our fans from across the pond. After all, it's me, a plummy Brit, having a bash at some of the leaders of their country. But hey-ho, it's a list I'm willing to take. And after all, it's not like the UK has got entirely clean hands and white hats when it comes to politicians conducting dubious acts. In fact, I'd actually like to take this time to apologise to Ireland, Wales, Scotland, France, and most of the world at some point because of our colonial country. Anyway, back on track with bad presidents. Hello, Donald Trump. Oh god, easy jokes for this lad. No, seriously, this list is about some rather terrible decisions by the leaders of the land of the brave, so let's get on with outing their dirty laundry. With this in mind, I'm Jules, Whatculture.com, and these are 8 dreadful acts from US presidents. Number 8. John Adams makes it a crime to say anything bad about him. Now, John Adams seems to have been a bit of a sensitive soul, as during his term as president, he passed the Sedition and the Alien Friends Act. Now, before you think that these laws were about types of rocks and being mates with E.T., they were actually all about making it illegal to say anything negative about the government. The Alien Friends Act was used to deter commenters by saying that you don't count as an American citizen unless you'd lived in the country for 14 years, and therefore could be deported at any time if you spoke out against the government. God, can you imagine ejecting people because you're offended? God, what a backwards time it must have been, eh? Sarcasm and Tumblr heavily implied. Number 7. Andrew Jackson just can't stop being a dick. Boo! Boo! This guy owns slaves, so instant boo! But a bigger boo for the 7th president comes in the form of him just being a persistent arsehole. For example, he created the spoils system, which rewarded his friends with cushy government jobs. He also killed a man in a duel which wasn't to the death, and worst of all, he signed the Indian Removal Act in 1830. This basically allowed him to seize Cherokee land in Georgia because of its rich gold deposits and force the native Indians to move. The Supreme Court got wind of this and told Jackson to stop, but did he? And as a result is responsible for some 4,000 deaths as the Cherokees were forced out of their homes and into lands not suitable for sustainable life. Number 6. Herbert Hoover overreacts. 1932 sucked if you were an American. The economy was in the toilet and the government led by Hoover wasn't exactly helping you with, let's say, food and money and homes and, things like that. And when some 20,000 World War I vets came knocking at his door asking to be paid for their services in the war, he overreacted a little bit. Now, this money wasn't actually due to be paid to them until 1945, but with not being able to eat being commonplace, it's a pretty understandable request. Yet Hoover, being the salt lick of a soul he was, demanded that the military break up their shantytowns using tanks and cavalry. The matter of early payment is up for debate, but the dispersal of their homes was utterly cruel. Number 5. James Polk starts a war to get land. James Polk really wanted California. The territory was owned at this point by Mexico, and Polk made several attempts to buy the land, but Mexico just wouldn't entertain the thought. In this situation, he thought that the calmest and most logical thing to do was, of course, initiate a war. So what he did, the sneaky little bugger, is line his troops up across the US side of the Rio Grande as a means of provoking the Mexican forces on the other side into attacking them. With the recent annexing of their country by the US, Mexico did what Polk wanted and showed aggression to his forces. This allowed him to declare war by stating that they attacked first, thus entering the country into a Mexican-American war which resulted in Polk finally laying claim to California, along with Nevada, Colorado, Utah, and Texas. Number 4. William McKinley uses concentration camps. He sure did! He sure did. And that ain't cool, man. McKinley was fresh out of a war with Spain in 1898, and as a result of their victory, now had control of Cuba, Guam, and the Philippines. Now, the Philippines was actually fighting a war of independence against Spain, so just naturally shifted this aggression to the US once they took over, and McKinley took exception to this desire for freedom. How ironic. He began a series of actions against the area in an effort to, air quotes, educate them in Christianity. What this obviously meant was to scorch the earth so that crops couldn't grow, torture the populace, and worst of all, use concentration camps which had such appalling conditions that many of those that were sent there would die of disease and abuse. All in the name of the Christian way. Number 3. Lyndon Johnson wouldn't shut up about Jumbo. Okay, so LBJ was a bit of a shit. Having come to office under tragic circumstances, he wasted little time throwing his weight around. And by weight, I mean Jumbo, and by Jumbo, I mean that Jumbo was the name of his penis. Yes, that's right, the leader of the red, white, and blue balls got out his Hancock at any given chance, even using it as a metaphor for American occupation in Vietnam. He even went so far as to request a personal shower modification to allow Jumbo its own water source. When he was told that this would be costly and wasteful, he replied, "If I can move 10,000 troops in a day, you can certainly fix the bathroom any way I want it." It's not the worst act on this list, but I've got to say, it really is a dick move. Oh, puns, I've got them! Number 2, Grover Cleveland robs the cradle. That title for this entry is actually pretty literal, as Big Boy Cleveland decided to marry his pseudo-daughter who had been placed into his care when she was 11. He was there when she was born and decided that he'd like to see her outside of her Congress, and so married her at the ripe old age of 21. He was 49. That is a gap so big that even Evel Knievel would struggle to cross it. It's not illegal, but it sure is f***ing creepy. Oh, and also he apparently sexually assaulted a woman and then when she wouldn't drop it, had her committed to an asylum. Grim. And number 1, Edith Wilson stages a coup d'etat. Well, sort of. Edith Wilson was the wife of President Woodrow Wilson. She was never elected in any stage of the government, but her actions have caused some historians to call her America's first female president. After Woodrow suffered a stroke, Edith and a handful of doctors were the only people allowed direct access to the president, and anything that needed his attention had to be approved by her first. Now, the full extent of her actions remains a mystery, but it's believed that certain documents, requests, and even bills were intentionally ignored by Woodrow's wife, giving rise to the thought that she was effectively using him as a puppet in order to manipulate affairs. The jury is actually out on this one though, but if that was true, that's some shady shit, yo. But anyway, let's all put our burgers down and salute that big balding eagle, not me, the one that they love. God bless America. And that's our list. Got any more dreadful acts perpetrated by US presidents? Well, let me know about them in the comments section below. And why not swing by Whatculture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Don't know why I did that voice, but it's staying in.